In this video, we'll show how you can plot a route based on some addresses that exist in a list control, and also compute the distance and travel time between each of the points in the route. So you can see here we have a list control with 4 rows, 4 different addresses, and we'd like to basically plot the route from the first row to the second row to the third row to the fourth row. So I'm going to go ahead now and click on the plot route button, and you can see that we basically have plotted the route. Then we have the driving directions for each segment of the route. So the first segment is from Lexington to Burlington over there. So this is Lexington to Burlington, and that's going to be 4.8 miles. It'll take 13 minutes. So you can see there's 4.8 miles, 13 minutes, etc. So basically we can plot the route based on this list here, but I've also enabled drag drop reorder on this list. So if I decide that I'd like to go from Lexington to Cambridge first, I can press and hold on there and move that up now, and now you can see that the route gets reordered and the travel times there get recomputed. So let's now go behind the scenes and see how this was done. So first let's take a look here at this button here called plot route, and we can see that we're using Action JavaScript there to call one of the Google Map methods, and the method that we're choosing is called plot route, and we've chosen the multiple addresses option, and we specified that the addresses, which must be returned in an array format, are returned by this JavaScript function called getAddresses. And then we've specified that the directions should be shown in the location specified by placeholder number 1. So let's go now take a look at the JavaScript function called getAddresses. So you can see it's a very simple function. We just get a pointer to the list control, then we get the data that the list control has, and then we just loop over the array of data, extracting the address field and putting that into an array and then returning that array. So if we go to the list itself, we can see that the list basically has just static data, and one of the fields in the static data is address, and then initially the distance and time fields are blank because we're going to fill those in later on. So the way in which we get the addresses, which we get the route and plot it, is using this Action JavaScript over here. Then we can see that we also have another button over here called distance, which also uses Action JavaScript Google Map methods. But this time the action name is get distance and travel time between points. So you can see that the map has several different methods, and one of them is this get distance and travel time between points. And just like the plot route action, this can either basically plot the get the distance between a starting and ending address or multiple addresses. And again here we've chosen multiple addresses, and we've specified the same JavaScript function to return the array of addresses. Now the code that on Google that actually computes the distances is asynchronous, and therefore you have to have a callback function that gets called once the function has completed. And you can see that in the onReady JavaScript event we get called, and when this function gets called we have an array called data, and inside this array we basically have elements for each segment of the route. So in this case there were 4 items in the list, therefore the route has 3 segments, so the array is going to have 3 items in it, and each item in the array is going to have distance text, distance value, duration text, and duration value. And then we're going to take those values and put it into the list. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video. So continuing now with the JavaScript function that runs after the distance and duration has been computed for each segment of the route, and you can see now that we basically get a pointer to the list control, and then we get the list data over here, and then we loop through this data array, which is the array that contains the returned distances and times, and basically we take the data out of this array and put it into the list. So the first item in the list that we want to update is the second row in the list, because the second row in the list basically has the root segment from the first row to the second row. So basically this is how we update the list, and then we repopulate the list over here. So let's go back now and actually run it. And then you can also see that what we've done is in the list itself, we've specified in list properties that we would like to enable drag reorder. So we've turned drag reorder on, and then we've specified that when the user drops the row after having moved it to a new position, all we want to do is execute button number 1, which is plot root, and button number 4, which is compute distance. So basically that's how we recompute the root after the user has completed the reordering of the data in the list. So I'm going to go now and take Bigelow Street, Cambridge, and move that to be the second item in the list, and you can see then that we recompute the route. Now I'm going to take Shady Hill Road, Western, and move that directly after Lexington, and you can see now that the route will recompute. So what we've shown in this video is how you can use Action JavaScript to plot a route with driving directions between multiple points, and also how you can compute the distance and travel time between those points. Thanks very much for watching.